Welcome to Bloom. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amber Freeman, and I'm so glad you are here. Communication and connections. They go hand in hand, right? But do you ever realize how much your relationships with the people you work with matter in your overall well-being, especially if they are less than stellar? Author of Leading Relationships, Steve McClatchy joins us now with some helpful advice if you ever find yourself being hassled on the job. Steve, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I know a lot of people are nodding their heads and saying, yes, please help me. So let's jump right in. Why are some people more prone to being hassled at work than others?
If you're being hassled at work, your organization is allowing it. There are specific ways an organization can get rid of this, and the first is having leaders that lead by example. Having a clear communication of your values, holding people accountable for the values, and then clear escalation up the chain to extinguish it. So if we're all prone to being hassled. An environment that allows it, it often occurs. So it's not your fault if it's happening.
Now, I've been in a situation like this once in my life. It was awful. I dreaded going to work even though I loved my job so much. There was always that pit in your stomach and the anxiety every single evening. What can we do about it? Because it's not like we can just tell management, hey, you need to fix this now.
Yeah, well, this is not the playground. And on the playground, there's bullies. You have a legal right to work in an environment free from all hostility. So to exercise that right, the first thing you're going to be asked if you claim hostility is, did you ask it to stop? Because there's a fine line between I made a mistake, I was trying to be funny, and harassment. So the first thing you're going to ask is if you ask them to stop and then they continue, it's considered harassment. So how do you gently ask them to stop?
Yes, please
You
help.
would say you're going to tap into the golden rule, and you're going to say something like this: we all agree to treat each other the way we'd like to be treated, and you're not treating me that way. And I gently like to ask you to stop so this doesn't have to go any further. Now notice that ending indicates that that's kind of a threat. This can go further. There is legal action that can be taken, and if you decide to escalate, if it continues and you decide to escalate, the first question you'll be asked is, did you ask the person to stop? And you say, I did, and here's when I asked them to stop. And then it continued. That is a clear case of harassment.
And you want us to do this first time it happens?
The more you tolerate, the more you're going to have to tolerate, right? So to get to the point where you don't want to go to a work and you loved the job, it's not something you should wait for. As soon as it rears its head, adults don't like to be corrected.
No,
so
and that's what I was thinking.
Right?
That threat may set them off even more.
If the threat, you don't want there to be retaliation, but if it's something that's going to displace your happiness at work, absolutely address it in a way that says, we've agreed that dignity and respect is the way we're going to treat each other, and this does not model that. I need your help. If they apologize, accept it. If they don't apologize, tell them you didn't like it. If it continues, then you can decide to escalate, tolerate it more, or decide to get your resume together.
I like that you're saying that, and you know what? That's a good point, because sometimes you actually just have to remove yourself from that situation.
It's an environment that they are allowing it to occur, and it's going to happen again if it's allowed.
And would you say, I don't think that they're willingly saying, yes, this is what's going to happen in our work environment. Most people are just overworked. There's not enough people to regulate, and you don't really want to play mama hen at work.
They're incompetent.
Oh.
And if you don't know how to hold an adult accountable in a way that gets rid of that, it just might be your incompetence being in a leadership role, not knowing how to communicate values, how to hold people accountable for those values, and what the process is. With that ignorance, it can be enabled, and you didn't really want it to be enabled.
And it's just debilitating for the person that's on the receiving end, because it kills you basically from the inside out.
Yeah, it's something that you dread going to work each day. It affects your personal and your professional life. And this is a great way to bring it to an end.
Well, let's talk about the harasser. What are some signs that somebody that we work with is going to be a little bit more difficult to work with?
Yeah, if you could observe them before you had to interact with them, you'd see a bunch of things. You'd see they say hello to certain people and they don't say hello to other people. They're not inclusive. They create cliques or they form cliques. They are very difficult when it comes to following through on what they said they would do. So they won't follow through. They take facts and they twist them. They lie about them. When it comes to opinions, it's their way or no way, which is going to be a very difficult person to deal with. And they often take people's strengths or weaknesses, idiosyncrasies, quirks, shortcomings, and they're talked about behind the person's back. If you could see that before you interact with someone, you know that's telltale signs this person's going to be difficult to work with.
That's one of the best signs of how somebody's going to talk about you if they're talking about somebody else behind their back.
Clear indication, and if you could get that and understand that beforehand, you want to keep that person at arm's length, if that's possible. Yeah.
Amazing. All right, we're going to stop with this, but you are going to come back after the break.
Yeah.
You can find all of this advice on bloomtampabay.com. Steve is sticking around. After the break, we're talking ways to actually feel worthy while at work. We'll be right back.